Hey guys, welcome back to a special, amazing, awesome episode that I've been really looking forward to start doing since I've met this wonderful human being at Worlds in San Jose. We've got Karol and oh man, you're gonna have to help me with the surname again.
Ruszkiewicz.
We've got,
You had it.
I
Hamish.
had
You
it.
had
I did. Karol Ruszkiewicz.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. An LSS developer. We hit it off. We've got some beers, and he's kindly said yes to jumping on to Push the Point. So, dude, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
It's
man.
a pleasure. I'm a big fan of the podcast. What can I say? Wait, check this out.
Oh, there we go.
In San Jose, Hamish delivered this himself. So since I've been a fan for a long time, so it's nice to get a little souvenir.
Thank you so much, dude. I've managed to capture all of the friends group as well, like some sort of like I've got you on my Pokédex. So you've got, we've got Penny, we've got Rohan, we've got Mark Henderson, got Kieran, and now the final of the Flesh and Blood friendship group. We've got Karol. Anyway, no one knows, but I do. So we've thrown out community questions. We had quite a lot of responses. We had some from our Push the Point Discord and plenty from the Twitter space as well. So apologies to anyone that's in Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. That's where I threw the questions out, and that's where they came from. So if you ever get a chance to do some more, I recommend you jump on Twitter, because Fab Twitter is a good little spot.
If you have questions, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to jump on YouTube in the comment sections, and if there's enough likes for your comments, I'll try my best to answer as many as I can, to be honest. So,
As reasonable as
drop a question below, hit the like and subscribe button. I haven't done this in ages.
You used to be in an amazing podcast called before you jumped into LSS, called Session Blood. And I will be the first person to say, is there a world where you'll do a special? I know that you're busy and you both got.
Oh, the questions have begun, eh?
We'll start now.
Literally, Kieran and I talked about it today to do some kind of a Christmas special. So who knows? Hopefully the stars align and we'll put something together.
That would be awesome. And I know that it's a tough thing to try and get going again. Once you've been out of the game, it's literally like a cold engine. It takes a lot of effort to get the engine running, but once you do, it is a little bit easier. But I as a fan of your work, would love to see you boys come back again, just to sort of wrangle out like a wrap up. It would be really cool to see like a wrap up of your experience of the whole year, and go what was your thoughts when you seen these sets drop as guys from inside and from an outside perspective, and just your thoughts on things. That would be really cool to see. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
absolutely.
go.
That's
free content. All right. Okay. So we'll kick in now, because people want to hear about your thoughts as an LSS dev. So we'll kick off with some of the work questions, I suppose, and we'll see where we'll go from there. Right. So Pablo Pintor tweeted out. He said, "Is there anything the dev team is really proud of, and something you are really proud of in?" I suppose I'll probably finish off that question for him. Is there something that's out that you are like, you know what, I'm really happy about this?
It's actually like pretty interesting that this question comes from Pablo, because for me, like, as a developer, my primary kind of workload is to tweak cards and adjust cards and make sure that everything is as interesting to play, it's balanced and, exciting on theme, and all these kind of like things fit into that one package. But we do sometimes get opportunities to make cards ourselves. And when I started being a developer, like my number one thing was like I have to make a card. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like transitioning from a player to a developer. Um, it's definitely kind of been my goal, like, oh, like, one day I'm gonna make a card, and it's gonna be the best card ever and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
like kind of like I feel like it's quite easy to be like, once I'm on the team, I'm just gonna like make the best things ever.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not as easy as it initially sounds.
No, I can
But,
imagine.
I mean, for me personally, my proudest moments is when cards that I kind of come up with, concepts I come up with, see print and seeing players play with them. That's huge. And for example, like the reason why it's like interesting that Pablo asked this question, mad fan by the way, it was great to meet you at the Worlds. Was that one of my the first majestic that I've designed, Runic Reclamation.
Ah.
Like so getting an ID through is insanely hard. So that was a card that was like I was super like, it's like it's a majestic, it's saw print, but the proudest moment was watching Pablo in top eight play Runic Reclamation. It was like this guy knows what's up. He's got three in his list at the very first Pro Tour, and just like watching that was like one of those moments that was like, you know what? I was part of making that happen, like it was
Yeah.
just all coming together.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like going back to the first part of the question as a team, I think today, Outsiders got announced, and that is something that as a team we're extremely proud of. It's something that we put a lot of work into and took a lot of learnings from previous draft sets. So yeah, I really hope that everyone enjoys as much as we did in the development.
I can imagine as well as these as these sets are coming out, like a lot of us don't obviously appreciate that like when Monarch came out, the team was like a much smaller size, and then when Tales of Iris coming out, like your team is growing as those sets are coming out. But a lot of people don't appreciate that you're not working. Obviously, you're not working on those sets. You're working on what's actually coming around the corner now. There
Hmm.
you go. If you hit the
Yeah.
doorbell, there. You go. But so,
Yeah.
if now that you're actually starting to see, well, Outsiders is probably some of the first stuff you're seeing with your bigger team of people that you had probably about a year ago now starting to come through. So you as a team are now
Hmm.
more excited. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're now seeing what the
Hmm.
whole team is bringing through rather than
Yeah.
this is what the stuff is out and the team is growing while this is going out, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think it's like not only are we growing in numbers, we're growing in experience, like
Yeah.
I feel like when I started development work, when you go transition from a player to a dev, I felt like I knew everything. I'm like, I'm playing the game, I know everything that's like, I know the ins and outs, like I know how to play a very kind of um like a clean game. You can win some tournaments, win some
Yeah.
armories.
Yeah.
I thought I knew everything, and I thought I was gonna jump in and like really, like show the existing devs what's up. But
Yeah.
it has been, it's like when you step into that and you start your journey in the development process, you're like, I know nothing. Like the
Yeah.
amount of like it's kind of like, I've been a dev for almost 2 years now, and it's like every single day and every single week I feel like I'm learning something new. And it's like it's such like it's like a really challenging but really rewarding like experience as well. Like
Mm.
um so I think, yeah, like the amount of experience and like learnings we've had over the last few sets, I feel like I'm just like super excited and can't wait for you guys to see what Outsiders has in store.
Yeah, I'm because as we just kicked this up And I didn't even see the Outsiders announcement. Just when I was
I
like,
know.
"Whoa, whoa, we're in the pits." So,
Yeah.
well, I'll tell you what. While we're on it, actually, I'll just cherry pick onto it. So we're in. So we're in the pits, right? So I'm actually
Yeah.
asking you because I actually have not seen a single thing about this at all.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there's not really much to say until later on. But the only thing we know is that we're in the pits. It's a draft set. Which is going to, I mean, that sounds really exciting already. It's really cool that you've kind of linked in the pits. You're already sort of showing it off because you've given us Arachne in Dynasty, which is the whole thing of going, yes, this is the whole uprising thing. And then the Empress has been absolutely murdered. Here's the dude that murdered it. Now let's go hang out into this, shit pit and see why. See the world of Arachne's place, and it looks awesome. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, to be honest, like I gotta give props to the creative team for like creating the story, because it's like, yeah, it's like when like it's so nice to see it all like put together and come out. And I think that's what like the whole like creative team really gives it that life,
Yeah.
like the storytelling. I think it's been pretty amazing. Like I've loved the whole like regicide reveal.
That
That was
was
beautiful.
sick. That was and that was a really cool reveal as well. And I forgot the dude's
Yeah,
name that he was on Thunder with. He was. I forgot the dude's name that put that all together. It was he was new
I
on
think it
that.
was Alex. Yeah,
Alex, that was it. Yeah, he's got curly. He's
Alex
got
did the
curly hair.
regicide, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
mad props to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really cool one. So I'll throw another one in as well because now I've got
Yeah,
all the
sure.
idea. How much do you,
Yeah.
so how much are you informed? Do you know much about the story when you're designing the cards? Does like the story help you influence the design of cards and stuff like that, or do you just kind of, or does the story work around like how does the story and design work? Because they
I
seem
think
pretty
it
important.
goes, yeah, it goes hand in hand. Like
Mm.
I feel like kind of, you we get the kind of, it kind of bounces back and forth.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
sometimes the mechanics influence the story, sometimes the story influences the mechanics. It's a very fluid process that we've got going on.
That's cool. That's cool. So
Yeah.
another question from Erica from Twitter. What do you think is
Yeah.
the most difficult part about your job? Yeah, there you go. What do
hmm
you think the most difficult part about your job is?
Yeah. That's
Answering
an
these
interesting one.
questions. Answering
Yeah.
questions.
For me, like going back to, the proud moments question, I think like for me, kind of throughout being like learning the development work, and I think the toughest thing was to um basically like that was actually like from when I started working, it was really tough to get into a headspace where you feel comfortable with what you're kind of working on in terms of like tweaking and adjusting things is fine for development, but like I've always there's that kind of design aspect that when you want to make that your own card. So like for me, the hardest thing was for the first. I came in with a very kind of like positive attitude when I started, and I was like, going back to that whole thing of like, oh, I'm gonna design a card. It actually, it probably took me like 20 or 30 attempts of like, like asking like other people, being like, hey, like, what do you think of this card idea? Like,
Yeah.
do you like it? And like for me, it was like a big it was a huge learning curve, because it was so tough to I would it's kind of like you come in, you want the card to have everything, like the first kind of my first attempts would be cards that had like 10 lines of text and like interacted with everything and stuff, and it was just like um
Was it kind of
that was a bit
confidence?
crazy.
Is it like confidence with some of your peers in the workplace as well about like showing up, like when you first started and going, I've just designed this. Is this cool? And then you're like, please don't tear into
Exactly,
it
and it's
too
like,
much.
it's because you're like, "Oh, look at this cool idea, guys. What do you think?" And literally I got shut down like 20 or 30 times
Oh,
before, someone was like, that could work,
yeah.
so so kind of like at the beginning of, becoming a dev, that was really hard to get used to. But now I feel like right now the hardest thing is, as a developer, you have to be extremely critical and extremely like a very objective thinker, Like I feel like um all of us on the team are like super passionate people.
Yeah,
We all love the game. And we all have like, ideas on how to make the game better. But as a dev, I feel like you have to be like a critic, you have to be, and that for me right now, I think the hardest thing to do is to be like, okay, you have this idea, but I completely disagree, and I don't think it's gonna work. Like being able to that's something that like I personally find it like quite difficult, is being like, you know, sorry, no, this isn't gonna work. And I mean, of course, you have to be like um objective about it and be like, because of A, B, and C, and kind of
I
and
know.
all
It's
that kind of
it's
thing.
it's it's telling
Um,
another person no, isn't it? It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
you got to be the dude that you know. Let me show you how dreams are crushed, right?
Yeah, 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 and it's but luckily, I feel like we're very um lucky in the sense that as a team, um we're very comfortable with being extremely kind of like, you know, cutthroat in a way. We're
Yeah,
very happy. Like I've gotten to the we've gotten to the point that we're just like, we're very direct, and I think that's what makes the team tick. To be honest, is that we can have very healthy and objective discussions, very freely, which is great.
that sounds really good, and it takes time to build that sort of team. Just to sort of, I can imagine now it's just easier to go, man. That's crap, man. What you do? And then they're like, oh, okay, and it's
No,
rather,
it's
I know, but
exactly
that's good.
that's it, Like, we have people who are just like, "Hey, like, why don't we do this?" "No, because this and this." Like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, that's cool. Fair enough.
It's a
We're all on the
yeah,
same
I'm
page.
actually yeah, it's actually really, really, really awesome to have that kind of very genuine, line of communication with everyone, I think.
Yeah, you can actually joke. You can laugh about
Yeah,
bad ideas, and you can
yeah,
actually, and then you can
yeah,
all get excited about good ideas, and it's just like that. It's just energy. Do you
exactly,
know what I mean?
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
banter and passion fused.
yeah.
That sounds like a great sort of combo. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got another one. It's not entirely aimed more at the work side of things, but it is the inevitable um,
Mhm.
PVE question. So,
Oh, yeah.
Barham, uh, when do we get PVE, if you can answer? Or more realistically, this game has done an enormous amount of effort of supporting the high level competitive play, which is doing amazingly
Mhm.
well. Is there a plan to
Mhm.
get more support for casual play for LGSs, be it PVE or some of the co op play, for those that are finding the super competitive aspects of the game not to their tastes? So this comes from Berham, who's a
Mhm.
level 2 judge. He was at Worlds as well, judging there.
Mhm.
For a dude that asked the question about casual play, he
Yeah.
he's super passionate about competitive play because he's stuck in doing all the hard
Mhm.
work for judging, and hats off to him.
Mhm.
He's one of
Mhm.
the best judges in the UK for us.
Mhm.
But for him
Yeah.
as a player, he's asking the question of like, is there something for the guy that just wants to just it's like think of Magic Commander or the board game type of dude. Just want to chill out,
Mhm.
man. Is there a thing coming for Flesh and Blood in that world? Which I think James and everyone's run around and said, yeah, but you know,
Mhm.
oh yes, the true
Yeah. Well, it just
PVE. Yeah, no, you're cool.
yeah, I mean, as James says at Worlds, it's like a very common question, like Q&As and stuff. It's like we want to make sure that what we release is the most highest quality product available. And, it's like, I think it's important to release something that is super like top notch, like that people would love. Like, and I think that's absolutely at the top of priorities for LSS is to make sure that everything is that we do is of the best possible quality. So when
Absolutely.
it's ready, it's ready. You know that, and that's all I can say really.
No, that seems fair, dude. Because the end of the day, like I think, and it's not, well, maybe it's not too much of a high criticism, but like when
Hmm.
you come up with stuff like UPF is stuff that I can imagine is something that you needed at the time, right? And it hadn't.
Hmm.
It may maybe it's not one of those
Hmm.
things that had the level of attention that it does that like you're giving for PVE, if that makes sense. Um,
Hmm.
and it's functional. It's a
Hmm.
serviceable thing. Here you go. But is it? It's that to me feels like what you don't want to do for PVE and stuff. And go, right, we need to get it out for 2023 because everyone's like, oh, we want to get, because we've said it.
Hmm.
Everyone wants it. It's got to come out soon, and you're just putting
Hmm.
hard deadlines on making that thing work, and then you're like, it comes out, and everyone's like, oh, it's like, yeah, but you wanted it this
Hmm.
quick. You're like, okay, it's
Hmm.
better. I agree with you. It's better to just sit there and go, look, when it's out, should should be nailed. Should be, and
Absolutely.
it'll be really
And
cool.
like I feel like UPF is
Or maybe
it's it's
I'm saying this from a
you
dude
need
that's not
you need to play
fucking
some
played it.
UPF. Like, to be honest, like in the last few sets, we've been giving so many like interesting tools for multiplayer play that I feel like you'd be surprised if you
Or
jam a game
maybe
or two.
maybe that's an unfair thing. This is probably, but this is my. This
Yeah,
is. I'm not speaking for the entirety of. This was just like my
yeah,
point of
yeah,
it,
yeah.
because
Fair enough.
I've got like a little local group that meets up and they all play Magic Commander and stuff like that. And I
Hmm.
think when I tried to suggest getting to UPF on the ground, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's good. It is good,
Hmm.
but we want to have something that actually makes us want to, I don't know, get, I don't know. It is good, but
Hmm.
it's not. Is it magic? Is it like, oh my god, this is like just as exciting as playing in a like, this is just as like whoa, But this is, again,
Hmm.
this is me. I think it's good, but
Hmm.
I think when I saw you at Worlds, the idea of PVE and a co-op thing where I can get them at like my busted Skeletor Sonata combo, but I'm not actually going to
Hmm.
do this to a person.
Hmm.
We're going to do this to this thing in the middle. And I think I remember I said to you, I'm excited about the idea of what PVE is in my head. Like the
Hmm.
concept of
Hmm.
PVE sounds so exciting because I've got this idea of what I think PVE could be from
Hmm.
this game,
Yeah.
like importing the mechanics that I know works as a player who's picking up
Hmm.
my deck and playing my deck. I know how the game works,
Yeah.
but when it's PVE, if that's what it will end up being, it's
Hmm.
that whole, oh cool, so my brother is Starvo, right? And I'm gonna be my
Hmm.
favorite character. Maybe if we complete the thing and well, here's your treasure chest, and the treasure chest is actually a bunch of packs. And then, like a treasure chest, you don't
Hmm.
know what you're gonna get, and you're like, "Oh my god, we just found this like newer piece of
Yeah.
equipment," and you're like, "Oh sweet, who's this gonna work for?"
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's like a D&D levelly up thing. This is like my
Yeah.
concept, and that's what I think a lot of people are getting hyped about, because the
Yeah.
concept you can sort of see about like a, I don't know, a core of what it could be, and then you're filling in the gaps, and then those gaps are actually quite exciting to make work and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I can imagine a lot of
Yeah.
people are
I mean,
like,
like, you don't
oh,
have to tell me twice. I'm
yeah,
super hyped for it.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I can't wait to play it when it gets released.
yeah. That's sounds it.
But yeah, it's like the thing is, it's like that hype, that excitement, like it has to be,
It
it
has to
has
be
to live up to it.
supported. It has to have all
Yeah.
the fundamental stuff, like to make it work from the ground up. I get that. And when it
Yeah.
does come,
Absolutely.
I'll be hyped for it as well.
Sweet.
So we had some Monarch questions thrown in. I put it in the Monarch question section because it pretty much boils down to, which I
One more question.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel these guys. I feel these guys, right? So we got,
Hmm.
I by the way, as well, I'm going to pronounce their names wrong. We've got 8 Lockinen and Push the Point patron Dyson. Let's ask the
Mhm.
question in a roundabout way. The Bolton. Now, Bolton feels like it's sitting in the corner a bit.
Yeah.
What they're saying specifically is Bolton in the corner design wise, or is there hope for a more interesting thing besides the comp? But by the way, of that bit, I'm like, dude, you need to play some more Raiden. And another one is,
Yeah. I
yeah,
was actually gonna say
he needs to play
that.
some Raiden. And then Dyson's asked,
Yeah.
what is the in-house opinion of how to design Levia and Bolton? It feels like they've had little support compared to the Prism and Chain, which is probably a bit of a tricky one for you to ask, because like I imagine did you jump
Yeah.
in as I was coming out? Because I do agree with them. The Bolton and Levia side of things are a little bit like, okay.
I feel like the thing about Flesh and Blood is like is I understand that everyone has like the whole concept of the card game design about heroes is people do end up having their favorite heroes, and the thing is like not you can't have 15, 17 heroes who are all extremely great, like unfortunately that's not how it works.
No.
Um but you have to understand that we love all the heroes and we want to support all the heroes. Um the thing is that it just takes time. It's we fully understand how the ins and outs of like how the metagame evolves and what players are passionate about. And it's just a matter of it's just a matter of if you're if you're a fan of those heroes, you just have to wait for when they will get support, basically.
Yeah.
As much as we would love to give every hero all the tools straight away, these things do take time.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I did like the new Spirit of Arena, which
I
that
feel like that card is extremely powerful
it
for
is
Bolton.
extremely
Like, come
powerful.
on,
It is
Hamish, you've
good.
played Bolton, right? Like,
Yeah, man. I've
um,
been running around with it. It's
yeah.
it's 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 well designed. It's well designed. It
Hmm.
definitely it fills in that slot, especially when you're playing Raiden, of where you go,
Yeah.
I am going to play that zero cost charge, and then they go, oh, don't
Mhm.
block, and then you got that Luna in your hand, and you're like, damn it,
Yeah.
block. I don't want to use my snappies,
Yeah.
or do something, and then you just feel like you just go, it doesn't matter what you do, this
Yeah.
combination
Yeah.
is going to work, and it kind of feels good that
Yeah.
it's that you've got the card and you've got to you still got to do a little bit of work to get it in, and it has its, but once
Mhm.
it's down you do feel like I am ready.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I think it really opens up, the play patterns with Bolton. And for me personally, like, okay, here's a little like
Go,
spicy take.
go.
I feel personally as a player that Beacon of Victory is like one of the strongest, if not the strongest cards in the game.
Oh,
Like,
it is,
if
it
you
is, I
if you
agree.
read the card, imagine having a zero cost razor reflex, right?
Yeah,
That not only gives you plus X to your attack, defense for 3,
yeah.
it pitches for 2, and you get to just search your deck for any action card, like pretty much. Like that's like I feel like,
It's broken, like in the concept of what it is
Mhm.
just that card is bonkers. A tutor buff
Yeah.
card, yeah, 100%. You
Yeah.
just got to charge your
And
soul.
V for Vanguard, Lumina Ascension, like I do honestly think that Bolton has some of like the strongest cards in the game. Um, to be honest, like same for Levia. Like Levia has, I think she's just a very kind of polarizing hero because if you lose with if you lose to Blood Dead, it's just
Well, you
like this
don't.
like oh
Yeah,
it's it's
you don't win against
it's like you kind
Levia.
of
Levia
yeah,
loses.
absolutely. But like the damage output that hero can consistently put out is it's it's crazy. It's just raw damage, right?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that's something that playing Leviathan kind of I feel like it's a hero that just requires so much awareness of everything, of your graveyard, of what's left in your deck, of when do you pivot, and start putting pressure. I think it's a hero that's very powerful, but requires a very good sense of like when do you take the risk and if it's worth the reward. And I think that's something that I think is kind of people shy away from it, because I think it's a hero that you can't just like be very like consistent turn by turn. Like the explosiveness comes at a cost,
Yeah.
and I think that's very much like kind of outlined with the blood debt mechanic. It's like you do above curve, like you do a lot of more damage than other heroes can, but it does come at a risk.
Yeah.
um
I think
yeah.
I don't think it's an argument with the cards per se. I think I to completely 100% agree that they've got some of the most powerful cards in the game, but not the most powerful
Hmm.
mechanic. That's the thing. That's the thing that I think that in order to get Beacon of Victory, in order to get these blood debt cards going, you got to
Hmm.
sort of build up what is effectively a bit of a heavy cost. And once you've got that
Hmm.
heavy cost built up, then things start to
Hmm.
move. And I think a lot of people go, yeah, but there are some heroes that just kind of get that reward without this additional
Hmm.
costness that we need to build up on.
Yeah, I feel that. I
Yeah,
feel that.
and I think maybe there's a lot of people that look at and go, is that surely there's a card that can just sort of taper off? Like, we don't want to remove or get rid of this additional cost thing, like Bolton's putting cards in soul. And if you don't
Hmm.
charge, you don't do anything. And if Levia goes, oh, if I
Hmm.
don't put this card in here, I don't do anything, right? It's just kind of,
Hmm.
if I don't, do you see what I mean? And maybe there's a card that they're looking for, a card that goes, your mechanic is, you know, can be slow. Here's something that can just ease it slightly.
Hmm.
Maybe this
Hmm. I
card,
feel that.
maybe a card from the. I said to uh, your mate Mark, I was like, oh, maybe there'll be
Yeah.
like there's a card that goes, you could put this card from the bin to the soul or something like that. I don't know. Like, yeah, and he's like,
Hmm.
they'll be broken, Hamish. And I go, this is why I'm not a developer, right? This is definitely one of those ones where I show it to you and go, I've just found this really cool mechanic, and you're like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
trash, mate. I'll put it in the bin. I was like,
yeah.
but yeah, I think that maybe
I
that's
mean,
what a lot of people are looking for, something that just kind of tapers off the cost of making these heroes work, if that makes sense,
yeah,
just to ease it
yeah.
slightly.
I mean, like it's good to it's going to Worlds and like talking with a lot of players and fans of the game. It's like it's great to get that kind of feedback. And like I think the important thing is like we hear it. Like we
Yeah.
we hear people who you have these people who are like the devoted Levia fans, the
Oh
devoted
man,
Bolton
Sandman.
fans, the
Yeah.
devoted
Yeah.
Azalea fans and stuff. And it's like we like LSS does hear this kind of feedback. So
Mm,
it's all just a matter of time
yeah.
before each respective hero gets that push that it needs.
So we'll end this on this point. Wolf Shadowmancer's asking, we'll be seeing more design space with the interactions with the Banish Zone or outside of Shadow Talent. And what would that look like? Well, if you can answer that. Cards have a specific effects in certain cards are in your Banish Zone, abilities that only work in the Banish Zone. So I think, in short, is there use of the Banish Zone outside of the Shadow Talent, or is that a Shadow Talent sort of?
I mean, there's already
Yeah,
a number of heroes and classes that do use the Banish Zone. That's not Shadow. You have
yeah. Viscerai
Katsu
does
who
that.
utilizes the Banish Zone. Even now, if Dash can get back like cards from the Banish Zone, it's uh, the thing is, it's like it's an inherent uh, zone in the game, right? Like,
Mm,
for us as for the design team and the development team, it's like a rich resource that we will utilize whenever we see that it fits to be used. So
yeah.
I feel like absolutely it will be used in different and exciting ways in the future.
Awesome. So we're going to move over
Yeah.
to, we had one or two guys ask about illusionist stuff as well. So Mike Williamson. now that we have seen both Spectra and Draconic allies, are there any learning that you've come to? Is there any learnings you've come about? You want to design Illusionist going forward. So imagine, in short, you've got Spectra, you got Dragon allies. What's the main learning around that going
I mean,
forward?
personally, yeah. I mean, personally, I'm very happy with the outcome of how Dromai turned out. I think it very much embodies the whole illusionist. Even with Spectra, it's this whole like, I'm gonna put this thing down, and are you gonna come after me or are you gonna deal with it? And I think that's very flavorful of what the illusionist class is trying to embody. It's just this kind of like you feel this kind of smoke and mirrors type of battle where you just don't know whether you're fighting the actual opponent, the
Yeah,
or you
yeah. Or
like
there's this
what are you
big
doing there?
thing showing up. Like if you've ever played,
Yeah, I think
what was it, Elden Ring, and then it's a wizard person, and she just summons this
yeah,
huge dragon, and you're kind of like,
yeah,
have I got to whack this thing now, even
yeah.
though I
Like,
know it's
is
not
this a
real?
real
Because
threat or can I
yeah, I
just
got
leave it?
yeah, because if
Yeah.
I leave it, it's just gonna get worse. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, I think we've learned a lot. Like, I'm honestly like really proud of what we have learned with Prism and the Light Illusionist, and what we took and developed with Dromai. And I think it's the Illusionist class is heading in a great direction.
yeah. I really, really, really love drone eyes. Like I can
Hmm.
when I picked up Uprising, I was like, I looked at the Icelander and Dromai and just saw the design space of. I was like looking at Icelander's design space because it was a wizard, and I was like, okay, how are they going to work around wizard? And it was like, okay, no, this is really good, and
Hmm.
it seemed quite. It was very clever of how it worked. But when
Hmm.
I delved into Dromai, that was another like that was like Icelander was like a tuned car that I've seen before, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I've seen this. You've tuned it up. It's a bit different, clever. But Dromai was like a new car. That was like a
Hmm.
new
Hmm.
car. That was like an electric
Yeah,
car. Yeah, you're like,
yeah,
whoa, okay. You just took the engine out and put a new
yeah.
and just redone the engine. Like
Hmm.
that's just crazy. And I loved the like you it's like you just completely just revamped the idea and worked on and
Hmm.
figured out that allies with this and this whole ash um resource management that you had to work with it.
Hmm.
It was very, very good. And then Phi. Anyway, so but I
Hey,
understand what Phi is there for. Phi is you need a beat
yeah.
stick hero. You need something that people that are new that could just jump in. You've got your hero. This is going to fundamentally get you into the game and figure out how all this sort of stuff works. And then yeah, like Dromai is like, do you want to play expert level? Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I
exactly.
understood that bit. But when
Yeah.
I'm but yeah, for me when I was looking, I was like, oh, fine, whatever. Anyway, right. So, but I'm not.
Yeah, but it's
I've
fair
done
though.
I've done my beginner's course. It's cool. Not
Yeah.
knocking the 5 players. It's pretty strong. Anyway, regular raccoon illusionist seems to have undergone multiple redesigns for Everfest and Dynasty. Clearly, illusionist. Well, I don't know if he's fair on this. Clearly, Illusionist needed a Illusionist needed a redesign. But can you summarize what the mechanical identity Illusionist is going to be going forward? Why is it essentially no more Spectra ward on allies and auras attacking with allies rather than auras, and auras having clear termination points like start of turn triggers? I think he's. I think the question we all know is Spectra's from Prism was a
Hmm.
bit busted, right? It was a bit busted, and being able having something that's going to attack, and if you attack it, it completely annihilates your turn. It was very, very, very difficult to deal with. It's
Hmm.
kind of clear to see that it needed a bit of a redesign, and Evervest was sort of giving those sort of hints going forward that actually these things die and they sort of protect in a different sort of way. is that something that is quite intentional? Is that where you think this is where Illusionist needs to going forward, or what do you think?
I mean, whether it's Spectra, whether it's allies, whether it's Ward, I mean, we're going to use these tools, we're going to use these mechanics as we see fit, like for the respective um, you know, illusionists moving forward. It's hard to I don't want to,
Yeah,
it doesn't
that
really.
sounds like a bit of a hard one to sort of get right. If you whether you
Yeah,
can get
it's kind of it
it's the
just yeah, it
mechanical
just
identity, I
depends.
suppose. It's like is the mechanical identity of Illusionists changed now since Dromai, or is it trying to meet in the middle of both worlds? Because I'm seeing new mechanics every time with it as well. Like we've got
hmm
allies now, we've got Spectra, we've got Ward. Is it just trying to fuse all that together and make something work?
I think it just creates different areas of like the direction for whatever when you compare Dramai to Prism, like they both feel like illusionists, even though they work of quite different. They have a very different like individual feels for it. So I mean, it depends what it's. We will use whatever is needed for the illusionists moving forward.
Mm,
It's that's the only thing I can really say is that
yeah.
whatever fits, whatever gives it that flavor, whatever gives it that play pattern that we want, we'll use that
Yeah.
basically.
Is there something around classes that you sort of go, okay, is this the umbrella of what classes are? And like, is there like a fundamental core thing that a class needs to sort of tick off to say that this fits in the class? And then you move into the hero and it's their own sort of design sort of thing? Because Prism and Dromai have this, for an example, Prism and Dromai they're illusionists because they create things on the board that have spectra, and they're things that you've got to deal with outside of the hero. That is it. Now, other than that,
Mhm.
that's when we're going to differentiate these two people and make them very, very, very different in their own way. Like as well with
Yeah,
Briar and Chain. Briar and Chain felt like that was another one that was like, I get what you're trying to do. Runeblade equals non-attack and attack actions, trying to mix them together. That is what a rune blade is. And then everything else
mhm.
after that is kind of like, well, we're just going to design this to work around the hero. Is that kind of
Mhm.
a rough idea about how it kind of works for classes and heroes?
I
Maybe that's a
guess
bit of
so.
a
I mean, like, I think one of the like my personally, one of the favorite things about Flesh and Blood is the fact that you pick up a brute hero, you play a brute hero, and you feel like a brute. You
mm,
pick up a ranger hero, and you just feel, and that's something that we're very mindful of, and it does steer, the design and development and everything is that's very intentional. That's something that we're very kind of mindful of and very aware of, and those things just have to be emanated like that. You pick up a hero, and even with the chain and briar thing, like they both feel like runeblade, but they have such different identities as well, which is like that's just something that takes a lot of work to kind of flesh out.
yeah. I will say I would love to see a little bit more fleshed out lore wise with Briar. I think that's the one
hmm
hero where I feel like I don't know why she's a Runeblade. Like I don't
hmm
know why I know why she's a Runeblade mechanically, but thematically I don't know why she's a Runeblade. I don't know what she's doing. Why, what is her goal? What's her motivation? Maybe I haven't. It's been a long
hmm
time since I've read Tales of Aria, but anyway, we'll move on. We'll do
Sweet.
one. We'll do we'll do one more. Uh, like I've got some questions. Obviously, we can't walk away from you, Karol, without talking about Brute, right? I know we've already talked a bit about it. We've got some guys throwing in some Brute questions here.
Yeah.
Will we be visiting the Savage Lands in 2023, or I'm assuming at, well, soon? Trademark.
I mean,
Hashtag soon.
I mean,
Hopefully.
I can't say
No.
that,
No.
but you have to realize I am, Reiner was the first hero that like really clicked it for me. I started playing in Welcome to Wraith. I started this very beginning, basically of constructed play, and I played Bravo, and it was all right. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I love Bravo, but then when I picked up Reiner, that's when things really clicked, and I was like, I get it, like this game just makes sense to me. And so I've always had a strong affinity for Savage Land. So I can't tell you when it's going to come out, but I can tell you that I'm going to do my best and put as much effort to make it, the most amazing set ever.
The community has showcased how brute like and really the brute um mentality, especially when you see it on Twitter and
Mhm.
Discord. When Rock showed up, right, everyone
Oh,
went,
man.
and everyone just went pure
It's a
chimp. Yeah,
robot.
I cannot wait. When Savage Lands comes out, everyone's just going to be like, just chimps.
Everyone with their rocks.
Yeah, they'll be like, I can't wait. The
Yeah, I feel it.
spoiler
I feel
season's
it.
just going to literally just be seeing two rocks smashed together. I think when that shows up, I think it's going to be the most fun. I'm going to see people just having lots of fun when the Savage Lands comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
But which is way ahead. We've still got because I've only just seen the set. We've got the new set coming out in March, which we're in the pits, so we'll see. Hayden Dale from Arsenal Pass and Top 16 Man of Worlds has asked you a question.
All right.
And my daughter's now in on the question. Anyway, when she's moving on. So, as a notorious brute and Reiner stan, how does Karol feel seeing the recent Uprising season result for Reiner with a Nationals and call-ins win? And does he think people have been sleeping on brute in general? And why or why not? So,
I think first of all, it's great to see Reiner put results. I think there was like two Reiners, like and
in the
the
top
top
8,
eight of
yeah.
the world's calling. We had Reiner take it out. We've seen Reiner win nationals before. We've seen Reiners in top eights and Canada. Like I think that was like 2 or 3. And I think it's one of those heroes that I think the players that succeeded with it, it's like when you play the hero, I think there's something about sticking with a hero
Mm-hmm.
and putting a time with a hero, even though despite everyone might be telling you that, you shouldn't play Rhino, you shouldn't play X, you shouldn't play Y, because they're not very good in the meta game. But if you're committed to a hero, you can find those edges and those matchups that everyone's complaining about, and you can edge those particular matchups to your favor and win them, and then other like you would have other matchups that people struggle with that you just demolish, and I think that calling showed that. I mean, I feel like that calling from the worlds was a better representation of this, potentially, of the current classic constructed metagame than worlds. I mean, that was like what, 12 rounds of pure CC, like
Yeah.
pure classic constructed. So honestly, like, I was super stoked to see Brute take it out, and you could tell, from Hayden's deck tech with the dude who took it all out, that he really put in the work, and that was a very unique list. Like, you just look at the list and you understand that this guy knows his deck inside out. He knows every matchup inside out, and he knows his game plan for every particular matchup inside out. So yeah, I mean, if you want to play some Rhino, definitely check out that deck, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's the one with Arsenal Pass with Hayden. I
Yeah.
checked that out and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, it's
Yeah.
really cool. It's really
Smash
cool.
with Big Tree,
Yeah,
like,
well,
you know,
second I
this
saw
guy
that,
does a smash, right?
what?
Yeah,
Okay, man.
yeah. No, it was awesome to see, like, 100%.
Yeah, man. And then it's we've recently had Dynasty, man, and I'm telling Brute got some love. I don't like,
Hmm.
but I will say I'll follow this on from another Twitter question from Ordos. He goes, why? He didn't say it like this, but I'm gonna make it sound like he's saying it like this.
Yeah.
Why is Brute not moving away from the RNG design direction? Like Swing Big has that. Swing big. You're not discarding. There's no RNG, but there's a downside to it. Why can't we get more? Basically, why do we have to get more stuff that has downsides but not RNG downside? Does that make sense? Like, roll the dice. It could
Yeah.
be crazy, could be not. Why don't we just have something that
Mhm.
is like more stuff like Swing Big?
I mean, to be honest, like, for me as a player, like, the appeal of Brute is the fact that, there's a lot of RNG stuff going on, but it's finding the control among the RNG and kind of, you know, utilizing that to your advantage, like maximizing some plays that might seem random on the surface, but when you think about it, like, I'm gonna play this pulping or wild ride because I know that statistically, like, the card I'm gonna draw at the top because I went through like so much of my deck is gonna be like a 6 power. Like, it's just like there's there's a lot of nuance to the brute class, that basically takes that RNG to, like, you can create an advantage within a game with it. In terms of the design, like, I mean, honestly, Brute got so many different tools in Dynasty. You can take your deck building, whether it's Reiner or Leviah, honestly, you can take the direction. There's so many different paths you can take right now. And I
Mm.
think it's the class as a whole, I think, is in a great split space to basically explore and optimize completely different strategies, which I
I
think is
I agree.
really cool. Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. Like, you've got Berserk, you can build a whole deck around it, for both the brutes. And I guess that kind of goes back to the Leviah support thing. It's like, yes, Leviah might not have gotten like the exact shadow brute cards that you might need for the deck, but there's other ways to play Leviah that you can explore with what you've gotten in Dynasty. Like personally, for me, I am a Rhino stan, and when I pick up Leviah, I play Leviah like a Rhino. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no thanks, but I just still have fun with it, and I can still win games. Like, you have access to 4 more blues that attack for 6.
Hmm.
Like, you can really leverage that with cards like Berserk, cards like that draw and discard, cards that discard.
Yeah.
I think there's just like I think Dynasty really opened up. Um, it's like, as a brute fan, like, for me, it's like I can't wait to get to an armory, and like play some brute,
Yeah.
because of all the new cards,
Yeah.
and there are so many different ways to build it now.
Yeah. Massage your luck. That's how brute works. You can't
Massaging.
you got to massage the luck, right? It reminds me
Absolutely.
it reminds me very much of the days of playing this old tabletop game called War Machine, where you could just turn
Mhm.
around and go, well, if I just shoot this guy over there and I need to roll 2 dice, I need to hit a 9 on 2 dice, right? Odds are 2 dice is the average is 7, right? So you 2 above
Mhm,
average.
mhm.
But if I do these things prior, I can give myself an additional dice. So now I've got 3 dice to roll on the 9. So I've still got luck, but I'm
Yeah,
massaging my luck. And that's what
fair
and
enough.
that's what feels like with Rhino. You've got to sort of, if you just want to just throw the dice and just go, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna hit this Blood Rush Bella. I don't know what's coming on the top, but I'm just gonna do it. And then you go, oh, it didn't work. And you're like, well, you did.
Yeah.
You did just kind of go for it, but if you set the deck up just a bit better, just get that deck set up a bit better, and then when it comes round, you know that the odds of your luck is going to be way better because you massaged the luck a little bit more. You took your time a little bit.
Absolutely.
That's the trick. And I'll leave this brute questions part of saying that I will say, Karol, every time I see springboard somersault, your head you pop into vision because you were the guy that got springboard. I don't know, by the way, why springboard somersault should be in the deck, and I know that's probably like 2 years ago, but I used to put it in, and all my friends were like, "Why have you got this in?" And I haven't. And I go, I don't know why I've got this in my deck, but if I don't, I'm clearly not playing brute well. And I never understood why.
I mean, it's one of those cards that, like, it's just like the most, in my opinion, like the most mid-range generic card. Like, you can pitch it for 2. Imagine a sink below that pitches for 2.
That would be nuts.
You have to jump through like some hoops, but I feel like it was a card that I didn't like at first when I was first playing, but then when you learn
that you could put it in Arsenal,
it seems so simple. Right? Just put it in the Arsenal. Whoa. But it's like once you kind of like find the play patterns that allow you to do that, that card is just next level. Like, it's great.
I think you were next level thinking of it, because when when you come up with the idea and then and I just had a look at your homework and I saw the answer but have no idea of the workings out, and then they go, okay, and then the teacher then goes, can you show me your working out? And you're like, oh no. I've got the list, bro, but I don't know what the workings outs are. We'll move over. We've got a couple, and then are you all cool for time still?
I could do a couple.
Okay.
Maybe
all right. Okay.
3 more.
Organized play side. I'll put this in this questions. They're not all organized play, but I'll just chuck it in that bracket. So Darren Hazelden has asked, push point patron, have the devs or organized play ever considered a top of hero or top of class set of prizing for larger events for callings? It could manufacture great field diversity by giving incentives for people to play a greater range of heroes, but also rewards people who opt for more challenging heroes to obtain results with. So it's more of the can Reiner and Levia and Bolton and Azalea and Katsu and all these other heroes that never get to the top. Can they have a prize for being the best one of them, please? It's a cool idea, though. To be fair,
it's just a disclaimer. I'm a dev.
I know,
but organized play. But
it's a cool idea.
I can answer this. So when I started playing, this is like me talking as a player. When I started playing, we had these events called Road to Calling, which was events that were. This was back in early 2020 and just before, or even 2019. I don't know.
I think it was a very long time ago.
Yeah, and that was before the first constructed calling, and that's something that LSS has done before, and that's something that I've personally enjoyed a lot, and I'm sure that this is something that LSS is aware of as an option. So it is possible that we might see it in the future. If if when it fits the organized play, I'm sure that it could come up again.
It's an amazing idea, and I know it's the question's more aimed towards OP, but when I saw that, I even looked at that and went, yeah, man, that sounds pretty cool, and then if you've got like a dual thing going on where you go, hey, I'm going to show up to the event and do as well as I can, and then you lose round 1 and 2, but it's not over yet.
Well, but you look at over the other players.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not winning this. I'm fighting you. I want to be the top of the Savage Lands. That's all that just seems like people will stick in a little bit more and have this. You'll just see this internal thing going on of where you got people going like, oh man, who is going to be? We've got a bunch of guys fighting for the brute places. I mean, these guys are who's going to be the Runeblade guy, and it's not just like, oh, it's the top tables. There's
Yeah.
the events have stories within it, because that's the best thing
Yeah,
about events is the
absolutely.
stories, and then it's the stories of how these players got to the events. Like Michael Hamilton won Worlds, and that story of how he got there, and he clawed in on 8th, and then he won it. And we've got our own story with the UK guy Rob Catton. He got in there. We've all got stories, and I think having that sort of stuff there creates additional stories within events and magic for people. So that's why I think
Yeah.
that's such a really good idea, rather than it just being like, oh, can other heroes get prizes and stuff? But yeah, there you go. Another why did my brain go by? Another Patreon from Kepo. 2 draft set. For draft sets, how closely associated are heroes and their weapons intended to be? To use Uprising as an example, Searing Emberblade and Storm of Sandrakai are unplayable outside of their respective heroes, whereas Waning Moon is accessible to any wizard. Is there any kind of hard rule, such as class needing the boost, or is it evaluated on a case-by-case basis? I think that's actually a really good question. Never thought of it like
I
that.
mean, it's case by case. I mean, it's easy to say that Storm of Sandakai and um, Searing Emberblade don't fit with any other heroes because there is no other Draconic Ninja or Draconic Illusionist. It's like whereas Waning Moon does have a different wizard that can use it. So
I suppose why
I
they're
think
trying to go is could that why was Waning Moon, and I'll throw this in there because everyone else will say this in Tales of Aria. Why isn't Waning Moon or Rosetta Thorn an elemental weapon, an elemental wizard or
um,
elemental runeblade? I suppose that's one of those questions they go that they. And we're going to answer this question while my daughter's here. So go.
I mean, I can't comment on the Rosetta Thorn thing,
No.
but basically, and Uprising, it just made thematic sense. I guess is the short answer is like the if you read Waning Moon, there's nothing ice about it, for example. So it makes sense for it to be used by all kinds of wizards, whereas both Emberblade and like the the illusionist weapon, they both have very particular themes in them within them. So
Got yeah.
I,
So it's
I think
very
it's
much what does this weapon do thematically, and this. So I imagine a lot of people are looking at this objectively, but there's got but when you're saying it like that thematically, why would that be an elemental weapon? Because it's
yeah.
yeah. I suppose it's one of those like a lot of people. The next question goes, why wouldn't you make this thematically look more icy? It's cool. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a bit.
Mhm.
It is a bit of a.
It's yeah, I mean it just depends on what is the correct fit for that particular slot. And I think it's for especially for a draft set, the weapons are very important to support the limited product, and they're important for constructed play as well. So um, there's a lot of thought put into that, basically, and yeah, there's no particular reason why this one's not elemental and these are draconic. Yeah.
Jeremy Lovett asks, cleric class, is it a pipe dream or just a matter of time?
Is it in the book? I'm pretty sure it's in the book, so it's
Is
maybe
it in the book? One day.
probably a matter of time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Necromancer. That's my one. I'll just say it. Necromancer. That's the one
That's
thing.
definitely in the book.
That's
That's
definitely in
definitely
the
a matter of
book.
time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Kale McCreef has asked, is it
Here we
true?
go.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. You're waiting for this question. Is it true you stopped playing competitive to become a dev because you couldn't handle doing a shot of absinthe each time you lost in testing? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, okay,
That sounds like an inside
that's
joke.
what a whole yeah, that's got a whole story behind it. So basically, the road to calling events that I was telling you
Oh, yeah,
about.
the one that you jumped in
One
with
of
all of
my
them in a bus or
my
something.
first yeah, my first event was actually in the small town called Palmerston North, which was 7 hours drive. away. So at this point, okay, imagine this. I start playing Flesh and Blood. 2 weeks later, I've already like I was so hooked that I got my Bravo deck all ready for for tournament play. I've got Kieran, Rohan, Tom all just like jumped onto the game as well. And yeah, within 2 or 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure, jumped into a minivan with a bunch of random Flesh and Blood players to drive to this event and play, this Road to Calling event. And these random people in the van were, Alan Hale, who works at LSS. We had Matt Rogers,
Yeah.
Nick Anderson, who like owns a store. So like these people are now like ingrained within the community, and it's just like amazing looking back. But basically, the night before the event, Kale McCreath challenged me to a Bravo mirror, which was, and the loser had to do absence shots. And we played this like super grindy game, and that was so Kieran played Ninja, Tom played Dorinthia, and so did Rohan.
Right.
But I've never versed a Bravo before. So I'm playing against this dude who's like been playing since day zero. He's top XP in the world at the time. He's still like probably top 3 or something. Shout out Kale, by the way, keeping it real. And eventually, after like this super grindy game, he gets me. I played well.
Yeah.
Almost got him. So here I am, like in the middle of nowhere, like doing shots with these shots of absinthe with these people I've just met, and yeah, that is exactly why I stopped my appropriate.
we now know the real
okay,
reason.
but here's we're gonna let's circle back to this whole you know how you're saying like it would be cool if they gave out like special prizes for like the top heroes.
Yeah.
So they actually did in the event the following day. And
Oh,
guess who
wow.
won top Bravo? This guy.
Oh, there you go.
Kale didn't even top 8. I got a cold full Bravo out of it. So
I guess those shots of absence paid off.
And a playmat.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Fluke and Box is saying, why is Newson saying the chillest dev? And why was he fired? I don't understand. That's a joke I don't get.
Newson is a gem, and I feel like everyone at the office loves him, and he is always going to be an honorary dev, even though he spends time, trying to organize tournaments and OP and all that these days. But yeah, always will be, honorary dev.
Yeah, last one. Did it. Mink, the local goblin.
All right, here we go.
One to end on. Are there any plans to have more adult versions of Young Heroes, or adding more? That's not. That was a bit. The local goblin wants to know: is there more plans of putting Young Heroes into adult form?
Yeah, I mean,
one day.
That's not really the best question for me, but all I can say is never say never. I'm sure that we'll like every option is an option for the future, so you might see them.
Is there going to be goblins one day? Because if there is
there going to be goblins one day? Wow.
That's my question. Can you make a goblin, Karol? Can you make a goblin?
just for you.
I want a goblin. I'll be amazing just to have a goblin hero. It doesn't have to be the class. It's just this.
Yeah,
I'll be amazing.
If you ever see, if you ever see a goblin released and his name's Hamish,
there you go. Thank you so much. It'll be amazing if there's a spoiler, because if there's a spoiler comes out, because I've been practicing my goblin voices, right? So if I need to get into character and there's a goblin, I'll be like, oh my god, this is why I've been doing Push the Point for this long.
It's all built up
for now. Right, Karol, dude, Thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out. It is late your end. You've
Mhm.
kindly went through all the community questions. Is there anything you want to just say to the Push to Point fans, and in general, just the Flesh and Blood scene, as an LSS dev?
I mean, thanks for having me, and to all the fans of Push the Point, keep on supporting these guys. They're doing a great job, you know. Um, you know, like and subscribe.
Oh,
Hey, I
thanks.
still got it. I still got it.
You know it. You
Um,
know it.
no, but honestly, no, it's been an amazing year in Flesh and Blood. You know, I've been it's been great to experience certain worlds, like seeing people, the atmosphere, and the growing. And that's the thing; it just keeps on growing, and the support's growing for the game. And um, it's I don't know, like I just hope you guys love 2023 because it's gonna get spicy.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. But no,
Yeah.
dude, thank you so much, Karol. You've been a gem to be with. You've answered all the questions as great as possible, and mate, it's been, as personally for me, it was one of the highlights was seeing many of the people in Flesh and in Worlds, but
Mhm.
occasionally we've had we've bumped into each other occasionally. I wasn't expecting to
Mhm.
come and have a chinwag with yourself, and when I did,
Mhm.
it was really really cool.
It was, yeah.
It's very rare to find someone that you didn't expect to get on with really well, and then you just suddenly do. They're the ones that you go, oh shit,
Yeah.
didn't see this coming, and it was really good. So thank you
Yeah,
so much,
absolutely.
man.
No worries.
No worries, dude.
Thanks, and hopefully catch you some other time.
Yeah, man. Right. Thanks, guys.